Always ask the question, what is the deep state? Yes, it's real. I don't care what you call it. The silly state, the stupid state, the soupy state, the dopey state, whatever you call it, I don't care. But the deep state is real. What is the deep state hiding? Through impeachments, prosecutions, and the targeting of Trump officials like Rudy Giuliani, Mike Flynn, and others. I'm about to walk you through. We're going to take you on a journey today you're not going to want to miss. It'll be like one of those like bedtime meditations you can listen to at night. Not because it'll put you to sleep, but after you're done with this, you're going to want your brain to consolidate it and process it because this is one of the most important shows I've ever done. I'm going to walk you through how the media, the swamp, and outside groups were working together to destroy Trump and the entire Trump ecosystem of people, Rudy Giuliani being our latest target. Let's get to this little gem first. Please, by the way, please read my newsletter today. This show will make a world of sense if you go and read all the articles in the newsletter. It'll be like a little bit of homework for the show. Bongino.com/newsletters, how you subscribe free to my newsletter. Check out this article first. New York Post, breaking this weekend. The New York Times, the Washington Post, and NBC all forced to retract false claims about Giuliani by Kathy Ann Boniello. Wait, what happened? Remember when we were told last week, Rudy Giuliani, President Trump's former attorney, former mayor of New York City, greatest mayor they ever had, Rudy Giuliani was given a defensive briefing by the FBI. He was told by the FBI. This is what I'm going to call, everybody track with me, follow me here. This is what I'm going to call from now on the he was warned narrative, right? The FBI met with Giuliani and they warned him what he was doing was Russian disinformation. He was warned. In other words, he was put on notice. Well, we were told that by the Washington Post, New York Times, and others. Yet it turns out that's not exactly true from the New York Post piece. The New York Times appended their correction to a story about the role Giuliani may have played in the 2019 recall of Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch. More on that one later. And whether he received a warning from the FBI about Russian disinformation. Quote, an earlier version of this article misstated whether Giuliani received a formal warning from the FBI about Russian disinformation. Mr. Giuliani did not receive such a so-called defensive briefing, the Times wrote Saturday in a note attached to the piece. Why does that matter? Because to set up the fact that Rudy Giuliani's a Russian stooge, that's the narrative. That's the fake story, right? Anyone they want to target in the Trump space, it's blank is a Russian stooge. Donald Trump, Trump's a Russian traitor. Mike Flynn, Flynn's a Russian traitor. We covered this all on the Friday show. A must watch. This show will make a lot more sense too if you watch Friday show. Rudy Giuliani, he's a traitor with Russia. They just fill in the blank. None of this is true. Please understand what I'm telling you. It's all gaslighting, but the lie has to be stated and stated confidently. That's what gaslighting is. And they're trying to isolate people from the truth. So in order to make it appear and to take out Rudy Giuliani, because remember, they're hiding something. We'll get to that. They have to make it appear he's working for Russia. The best way to do it? Leak a story by anonymous sources, folks. Those anonymous sources again. That Giuliani was briefed a long time ago. Hey, this stuff you're talking about with Hunter Biden and Ukraine, it's Russian disinformation. Story makes its way around the entire media universe. People see it on Twitter and Fakebook and all these other nasty liberal sites. And then when the story makes its way around that Giuliani was warned, what happens? Oh, we find out over the weekend that, yeah, it was just made up. That there actually was no briefing from the FBI. Now, why would an intelligence source in the swamp, remember what we're talking about today? We're walking through how the media, the swamp, and outside groups, Soros and those groups, how they work together to destroy the Trump team. The media gets this story, Giuliani was warned. It's leaked from a swamp source, and outside groups promote it on social media. They waited for the lie to go all the way around the world. Now everybody believes Giuliani was told you're a Russian stooge and ignored it. And then we find out later that the story is totally false, that briefing never happened. Why is it important to leak that? You're probably asking yourself now. Why is the swamp source leaking to media stooges, propaganda, Pravda-like media losers? Why are they leaking that? Because it sets up intent. having been a criminal investigator myself at one point in my life, it's very important during criminal trials, especially when you're briefing a jury, briefing a grand jury, to set up intent. People think in narratives and stories, and they always want to know, even though it may not be relevant, right? It may not be, intent is not a component of every crime. You pass a counterfeit bill, whether you intended to or not, it's a crime. But it doesn't matter. Grand juries like to think in stories. So you always want to describe why people did what they did. Everybody tracking? So they leaked the story about Giuliani getting this briefing from the FBI about you're a Russian stooge, Rudy, to set up the fact that Rudy ignored that and went and did what he was doing in Ukraine anyway, to set up the intent that Rudy didn't care. The problem is the story's fake. And Rudy's intent to ignore the FBI advice that he was a Russian stooge obviously can't set up intent because Giuliani was never told any of that. But it doesn't matter. The story made its way around the world before it was quietly retracted over the weekend. Now, you want to watch how deep state sources who leaked that? He was told. Giuliani was warned. Remember the he was warned narrative. You want to see how the media, Soviets, the propagandists in the media, the new Baghdad Bob of Spygate, Nicole Wallace from MSNBC, who can never seem to get a story right, but amazingly is still allowed to go on the air at MSNBC. She has been wrong on every major Trump story. And stunningly, Nicole Wallace is allowed to stay on the air. I want to play 3 cuts from a very excited, claimed to be a former Republican. Really, she's the Baghdad Bob of MSNBC right now. Remember, there are no tanks in Iraq. Remember, we played that a couple weeks ago. Tanks are rolling into. Remember Baghdad Bob, the propaganda minister for Saddam Hussein, right? They have Baghdad Bobs everywhere in the media. So here's Baghdad Nicole. I believe this is from Friday or the weekend. Whatever, doesn't even matter. Here's cut 1. Watch Nicole Wallace, propagandist in the media. She sets it up right now. The de facto Baghdad Bob. She confidently repeats the lie that Giuliani was warned he was a Russian stooge to set up intent. Giuliani knew he was a Russian stooge and ignored it. Here's cut 1. Totally confident that this actually happened because an anonymous source said so. Check this out.
Here's the most important thing to know about the swirl of breaking news in that criminal investigation into Rudy Giuliani. The former mayor of New York, whose brand in Trump world is inextricably linked to a perverse strain of selective patriotism and his quickly fading post 9/11 glory, was informed by the very law enforcement agency that helped make his entire career, the FBI, that he was aiding and abetting a Russian disinformation campaign, an attack on the U.S. election. And what did Rudy, America's mayor, do? He wittingly proceeded to amplify Russian disinformation in defiance of that FBI warning that it was a Russian attack on our democracy.
Notice the words this stooge, Baghdad Bob of MSNBC, uses. Wittingly and in defiance. Why would Nicole Wallace use those words? Because she's not very bright, or she is very bright and is an active propagandist. Only one of those two is a viable reason. She uses the terms that Rudy wittingly, basically knowingly, defied the FBI briefing to do what? The FBI briefing, by the way, that never happened. We now know that. Quiet retraction. She wants to set up intent. This Giuliani is such an evil SOB that the FBI warned him he was a Russian stooge and he wittingly defied them anyway. The story's totally fake. But Nicole, who again can never get a story right, ever, just runs on the air with it and trusts the same anonymous sources that told us the PP tape was real. No question. The media used to question stuff. No more.